Hello and welcome to a very special episode of We're Going Chasing. This is our first one that is purely Cheltenham focused. We're after getting the entries for the novice chases in the last week. We've had a good look at it and we have some quite strong opinions on a few different horses and where different horses might go. So I hope you get something from that. I suppose just a small bit of housekeeping. If you haven't listened to our usual weekly podcast, we've got some news. First of all, in terms of a giveaway, we're teaming up with Hacked Up Horse Racing Gifts. They've been kind enough to supply us with an embroidered hat and t-shirt, a mug with a horse's name on it, a pair of socks with whatever silks colours you want, and a Cheltenham Festival planner. So again, that competition is over on our Twitter page. Go and check it out. Secondly, if you want to buy some gifts from Hacked Up Horse Racing for yourself or for somebody else, go on and use the discount code WGC25, all in capital letters, and you'll get 25% off. How bad? You were saying, Killian, the festival planner?
Yeah, I know someone that got it and they said it's very good. I did a quick look at it and it looks very, very good. I've actually ordered one myself.
Very
So
good.
yeah, hopefully the
Very
sooner
good.
it comes, the better, really. And the sooner you order it, the sooner you get it, and it could be useful sort of tool for Cheltenham.
Yeah, and the second small bit of housekeeping we have is we are into week 3 of our Cheltenham competition, anti-post competition, that is. So the prize are 2 tickets to Fairyhouse Racecourse on Easter Monday to go to see the Irish National. Now, if you're just joining in now, it's not too late, so it's basically whoever is in the most profit or the least debt at the end of it will win the prize. So if you haven't entered yet, don't worry about not missing week 1 and 2. If you go well from here, you could be winning the prize. So yeah, we'll crack on. So Killian,
yeah,
I suppose we could start off with the Arkle there, Killian. I get the betting up here in a second, but you have John Bon clear in the betting. Would you consider he is the right favourite? He's about 6-5, 11-8. What do you make of it?
Yeah, he'd be a bit too short for me now at those prices. Like, I don't know, would you get anything much shorter on the day?
No.
Around John Bond? Like, he's won a novice chase, then he's won as a grade 1 there in Sandown. Like, I don't know. I think if you look at Willie's stringing it, El Fabiolo, Dysart Dynamo, Appreciated, Sir Gerard, San Roy won a grade 1 at Christmas. However, maybe it looks weak at the sort of face of it. But like, I feel like Willie's going to run at least 2 here. And I can't see John Bond going off much shorter than 6-5, really. So
No.
I'd be happy enough to leave him. And if I did fancy him on the day, and let's say there was question marks about a Dysart Dynamo or an El Fabiolo, I might back them then. But I like, if you got 11-8 and John Bon on the day, I'd probably take that, to be honest, based on what I've seen of the other horses so far. Like, Dysart Dynamo is the one that really sticks out over the 2-mile trip. Like, obviously he's very free going as a novice, but he seems to have settled a bit better. The fences might have just slowed him down that tiny bit, but he was a really good jumper on debut. So I like him. El Fabiolo then's only a 6-year-old, so he's going to be improving too. I John Bond's the right favourite, but at 11-8 anti-post 2 months out, I wouldn't be taking it.
No, I'd agree with you on the price there on John Bon. I have my notes here, and I think the bookies are going to take him on the day, because the punters will want to be taking him on too, I reckon, because there's going to be good alternatives there in whatever Willie sends. Between Dysart Dynamo and El Fabiolo, I'm getting the impression of you'd probably be siding with Dysart Dynamo over El Fabiolo. I find them impossible to separate, but if I was to go at one, I'd probably take El Fabiolo too. It's 6-1 El Fabiolo, about 7-2 Dysart Dynamo. I think their chase debuts, it's impossible to separate them. Dysart Dynamo jumped a bit better, all right, but very hard to separate him. And the big negative then too with Dysart Dynamo is how he performed last year at Cheltenham. And he's just, and look, in all likelihood, we're not going to get a repeat of that. But he's got that sort of cloud hanging over him, and I just find it very hard to separate the two of them, considering the price and Dysart Dynamo last year at Cheltenham. That's where I'd go between those two. I think Appreciated won't go here. He'll step up and trip. And like I'd be very disappointed probably if Saint was good enough to beat to beat the market principles there. Sir Gerhard, then do you reckon he'll be here, or what do you reckon?
It's hard to know. He's entered in Goran tomorrow over 2 miles. Yeah, it's hard to know. Like I don't think he's a 2 miler, personally, but look, he's very hard to go to the festival off the back of one run, in a grade one, go into a grade
Yeah,
one off the back of one run. If anyone can do it, it's Willie. But like I put him up at eights for the Turners at the start of the year. He's about a 6-1 shot now, having not ran, I think. So he's drifted out a nice bit for the Arkle betting, despite being entered at 2 miles, and gone in on the Turners betting. So like that could be a clue in itself. I don't know who's backing it, but yeah, he looks to me more like a Turner's horse. But yeah, I'd be surprised if him and an Appreciated run here. I'd imagine both of them will nearly go up and trip. He will run San
yeah,
Roy here with probably El Fabiolo and Dysart Dynamo. And then like Hat Door
yeah.
probably could go to a handicap then instead. That's sort of Willie's entries. Like, but like in terms of
Flame Bearer there as well, another
yeah,
one. He's got
Flame
something
Bearer, I don't know,
probably not up to it.
would he be a Cheltenham horse? He could be one for Aintree maybe.
Okay,
I
yeah.
just don't know. Will they go to Cheltenham off for him? He was he was disappointing the first day when he ran behind Journey with Me and Bride's Hill. And then he's hacked up the last day, but there was no race. So like he seems to be better as the spring progresses. I think he might be one that might be kept at home. And might
Yeah,
have a run there at the start of March somewhere, and then go to Aintree and be kept in for Punchestown and go into the grade ones there,
possibly.
as
Yeah,
opposed to going to Cheltenham. I think he might take
yeah.
his time with him, because when they took their time last year, he seemed to be a better horse for it. So that's where I'd stand with him. Like down the bet, and then like Mighty Potter won't go. Haddocks des Obo. He's an improving 6-year-old, but he's a lot to find with the top horses in the race. Imagine he'd go to a handicap. Then like Visionarian, if you liked San Ra, Visionarian's only 2 lengths behind him in Leopardstown. It wasn't a terrible run. You
Can't
got to think about
can't
it.
like either of them.
Oh, I know, yeah, but a decent race in post rating, 155 there. Like John Bonds in his grade one was 164, like £9 to find now. It's a good bit, but it's something that
Visionarian or
Visionarian, yeah. If
okay.
it was a small field and Visionarian was an intended runner, maybe if it was only looking like maybe 6 or 7 runners in the Arkle, and you've him 3 places at 50s, maybe he wouldn't go off 50s chance. I don't know. But
Yeah,
hard to look
maybe.
past the
Look,
top
I,
three
I,
in
I
betting.
wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad on that. But I know you're only saying it sort of as
Yeah,
a
yeah,
sort of a side
yeah,
point. But one that I'd say actually, and I know I put him up here towards the start of the year, Banbridge at 16-1, and now Willies have come out and they've looked very impressive, and John Bond has looked very impressive. But if Banbridge was again if there's word, or if it comes out there in the race and post that he's an intended runner for here, you can get 20-1 each way on him.
Mm.
I think like his performance in the grade 2 at Cheltenham, where he won by 6 lengths, was very impressive. And he won still, he was barely touched, I think, or he was taken very easy on anyway.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
And he stepped back up in trip and he disappointed. Maybe Joseph will be tempted to throw him into the Arkle and see how he gets on. But I'd say like if you're one that likes a bigger price there, something each way, like I'd be keeping an eye out on Banbridge and seeing if what the vibes are with him, and if they're positive towards this race. I wouldn't put anyone off that anyway.
yeah, for sure. And it's course distance form too. Like you
Yeah,
can't beat it really. So
yeah,
like I know we said before, like them trials races are trials, and they're trials for fuck all. But look, he's still won a grade 2. Now coincidentally, he got the same race in post rating in that grade 2 as Dysart Dynamo did on Chase debut. That'd be the only sort of thing that like there's probably way more scope for improvement with the likes of a Dysart Dynamo or an El Fabiolo. But look, I
maybe
think
so. Yeah,
I think he is a decent each way bet at around 20-1 for 3 places if it is going to be a small field and he is intended to run.
Yeah. Suppose will I put you on the spot? Who wins it?
John Bon.
There's no point going against him for the sake of it. But at the prices and that, I wouldn't be doing that now anyway. Put it that way.
Yeah, I'll get 11 to 8 today.
Yeah, exactly. Right, that brings us on so to the JLT. I suppose Mighty Potter tops the market here. I know you're sweet enough on him.
I am, yeah. I think he's a really, really good horse. And like he's only 6 running up against like appreciation Sir Gerhard. I like Sir Gerhard. I put him up for this race at the start of the year, but I just think like Mighty Potter is 2 years his junior. He's an improving horse, and I think he was unbelievable in the Drinmore. He made a few mistakes. Like if he sorts out that jumping, he could be an absolute monster. And he'd go up to 3 miles, no bother too, I'd say. Like
Yeah.
I'd say we'd see him in the 3 mile race in Punchestown at the end of the year. He could win the Turners and go up to 3 miles. Then you're looking at like I like him. I think 7-2 is plenty short. If you've assumed that Appreciated and Sir Gerhard run here, and potentially a James de Burley, he won't be much shorter than 7-2 in the day unless he hacks up in the flow gas in Leopardstown. So it's looking like him, Appreciated, and James de Burley are going to run against each other there. So we'll see the pecking order at that stage. But if you had to pick one at the moment, I'd pick Mighty Potter. I think he's just he was outstanding in the Drinmore.
Yeah, I'd be against you there now on a couple of points. First of all, James de Burley, I think he's going to step up to 3 miles. If you look at what Willie has to cover the Arkle and the JLT, you know, he's got El Fabiolo, Dysart Dynamo, Appreciated, Sir Gerhard, Flame Bear, if you want to throw him in, won by 38 lengths last time out. He's got 5 horses there, and that's without James de Burley. You know, so he's potentially 6. We'll say 4 very good horses in the first 4 are named. Flame Bearer, we'll just leave him to the side.
Yeah.
And then James de Burley. And he doesn't have that much for the RSA. All he's got is Gaillard de Manil. I really think James de Burley will be stepped up in trip and will run over 3 miles. His second start over hurdles too for Willie was over 3 miles at Punchestown too, where he was second to Classical Dream. So that's what I think will happen with him. With regards Mighty Potter, and I do really like he was very impressive the last day, but I'd just be a small bit worried about his jumping. And like it's a funny one because he hasn't. Well, the last day actually, he ducked on landing a few times. He was very free. It loves his jumping, like attacks defenses big time, but he's very exuberant. And I just wonder what's like. It's as if he's got no hesitation or no worries whatsoever going into him. And I just wonder, with the way he ducked on landing a few times, wasn't great the first day either. I wouldn't be surprised if going a quicker pace, stay around Cheltenham, if he was to take a very bad mistake or fall or something. You know, and Jack got on very well with the horse too, and everybody knows how big of a fan I am of Davy. But it's just another sort of variable there, and I'd be worried about him. You know, I would. Appreciate It then is another one. First of all, a 9-year-old novice chaser, that sickens me, you know. Stink, isn't it? Like, what are you doing? Like, why? I know. I suppose he missed out on 1 year, sort of, and he went to the champion hurdle and that, and he was injured and whatnot. But like, that's not the reason for this. The reason for this is fecking, you know, going in a bumper, running the champion bumper at 6 years of age. You shouldn't be allowed. Like, who wants to be going novice chasing with a 9-year-old? They should be in their prime, and they're only in the novice division. Like, you know. If I was an owner anyway, I wouldn't be taking that stance on it. But I find it very hard to get a gauge on him. Very hard, you know. Like, he beat Everton out of sight as a novice hurdler, but was against very poor opposition. You know, in 3 Grade 1s, he beat Irascible once, beat Ballyadam twice. You know, Ballyadam hasn't won in his last, I think it's 9 or 10 starts. You know, I'd forgive him the run then in the champion hurdle, and then again over fences he's beaten nothing. So I find it hard. Visually he looks good, but I find it hard. Again, it's not a race. I'd actually just wait and just see what way it pans out, because Sir Gerhard could be your one here.
Yeah, he could.
Just
Yeah.
looking at it there, he could be your one here. Banbridge, to be honest, I'd be gone off him if he went to this race a small bit. I'd rather see him over 2 miles. As foolish as that probably sounds, it's just, I think that race at Cheltenham over 2 miles was a standout bit of form to me, and I'd like to see him going back over course and distance. So I'm up in the air a small bit. You're thinking Mighty Potter. I'll just say Sir Gerhard for the safe. I don't even want it, to be honest.
Fair enough. Yeah, it is. Look, it's if Willie does run Appreciated and Sir Gerhard here, as we sort of expect him to, you wouldn't. I can't guess what he's going to do, but that's what I think he'd do. And you won't get any shorter than 7-2 or 3-1 in Mighty Potter unless he destroys them. He has to win really, really well in the Dublin Racing Festival. And then like you could even have a Journey with Me or someone in this race as well, then, or someone like that, Balco Coastal looking down a bit further, Hollow Games, like it probably will be a decent enough race. It won't be the forerunner event it was last year, and there will be a nice bit of depth to it as well.
Yeah. And it's very hard for me to say Sir Gerhard really when he hasn't jumped over fences
Exactly.
yet.
Yeah. That's another
You
thing.
can't really. We're going to see him tomorrow.
No.
So again, it's just a case of just wait and see. The prices are the prices, there's no need to be in any panic with them.
No. Take a few points shorter on the day than trying to guess here now. Like
exactly. Yeah. 100%. That brings us on to the RSA, Killian. I suppose it's the Irish have obviously dominated Cheltenham over the last number of years, but this is one race that the English have had a good handle on. They've won 3 the last 4 run-ins of it. What's standing out to you? Where do you want to start?
Gentleman's Game.
Okay, God, you're going down a nice bit in the betting there.
And the Mouse, yeah. I'll start with him. I think he's the horse that's going to win it. I put him up here a few weeks ago as well for the race. So he's one I really like. There was an awful lot to like about his chase debut. I think when he won over 2 mile 5 in Leopardstown, won by 8 lengths that day, race and post rate 154, really good for a chase debutant. Like over a trip that would have been probably too short from, like, the key to him, I suppose, is better ground. If he gets nice good spring ground in Cheltenham, he's going to have a serious chance. I think the ground they got in the RSA last year, the sort of softer, heavier ground, that wouldn't suit him. But I think if he gets what's fairly standard on the Wednesday, last year's a bit of an outlier. If he gets that sort of good to soft ground, he's going to be very, very hard to beat. I think he's entered in Naas on Sunday in the grade 3 over 3 miles. I'm not sure, is he going to run there or not.
What would you do? Would you go there, or would you wait for the grade 1?
I'd wait for the grade 1. Like,
would you?
I go to the grade 1, yeah. I think
what's the ground like at Naas actually? I don't know. I'm just wondering. I'm putting you on the spot here now. Is it okay? Yeah.
So
they might wait. So
I'd assume they'll wait. Yeah, when he does need better ground. Now he won it soft at Christmas, but like I think you had to run him at Christmas, like a beginner's chase. Like,
soft at Leopardstown is probably a bit different.
Yeah, exactly. So like I think the chase course is soft at Leopardstown at the moment too, but like it's not soft as Naas. Like that's a different kind of soft.
Yeah.
So I think the trip in Leopardstown might be a bit on the sharp side, and he's going to be up against Turner's horses as opposed to RSA horses, and like maybe he won't be really, really impressive there. He could be 3rd, 4th, 5th. He could be beaten. But just to note, he did run well in the Dublin Racing Festival 4 as a grade 1 over 2 mile 6. He was second to Geyer de Menil. He was in front of Statler. Like Statler's short enough in the betting for the Gold Cup,
yeah.
Like I think he's a very, very good horse, and he's one. I think he's still a bit of value there at 14-1. Now, like he could be well beaten by faster horses at the Dublin Racing Festival, but I'd say don't lose faith. Like the Mouse is a serious trainer, and he's able to get one ready for the big day.
He is, and I'd agree with you there in terms of don't discount him if he doesn't
Yeah.
win at Leopardstown, because the extra 3 furlongs will probably, and the stiff finish will probably play right into his hands. Just starting off at the top of the betting, I think the real whacker, I don't know who's backing him at 4-1, 9-2. Who's backing him? Like,
I don't know.
I'd be firmly against him at any price, nearly. To be perfectly honest with you, he was a very average hurdler in the context of this race.
Mm.
He's had one start over fences over 3 miles, where he beat Gordon Elliott's Indigo Breeze by 2 or 3 lengths. Which isn't RSA winning form. Now he is rated 153. So look, it's not terrible, but also like that's 153 in England. You've got Gaillard de Menil is 156 in Ireland. So you could probably add another 7 onto Gaillard de Menil if he was going to run in a handicap. He'd be
Yeah,
getting, maybe would he get 5 anyway?
he would. Yeah.
So you're talking a difference of £8 between them. And second of all, I don't fancy Gaillard de Menil either. He's a bit of a nearly horse. And while he'll run into a place, and I do think he'll run here, I don't think he'll go up in trip. I still wouldn't be gone on him. Time Hill then, you like him?
I do. Yeah. I think I saw Tom Segal tipped him up for this race during the week. Like, if you just strip away the run in Newbury and say, right, that didn't happen, it didn't exist. He's won the Cotto Star by 15 lengths. First time cheek pieces, jumped really, really well. Like, it's in complete contrast to his run in Newbury, where McFabulous beat him 6 lengths, where he jumped terrible. Like, the cheek pieces really sharpened him up, and he looks a completely different horse. The best hurdles form on offer is him, just ahead of Gentleman's Game, I suppose. He's beaten 2 lengths by Florian Porter in the Stairs last March. He's won grade 1s over hurdles. He's done a lot. Now, what I don't like about him is he's very small.
Yeah.
Not actually that big of a horse.
No.
Because originally they basically said after his novice hurdle campaign he wouldn't go chasing.
Yeah, they put a
That he
line
was
through.
too small. They put a line
Yeah.
through it. And now he's a 9-year-old here as a novice chaser. And I think he's only chasing because they know that he's probably not up to winning those grade 1s anymore over hurdles.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at his form last year, like, he was second in the Stairs, but completely bombed in Aintree then,
Yeah, he had enough chances
when he was fancied. So, like, he's a good horse, but you just feel some younger horse is going to come and just improve past him. But in fairness, it was a serious performance over Christmas at Kimpton. Like, it was brilliant. But I just query, like, will something improve past him, a younger horse? Like, looking at the betting there, the real whacker, Gaillard de Menil, Jerry Colombe, James de Burley, Gentleman's Game are all 7.
Yeah.
So,
But I get what you're saying there. And also, actually, just we're leaving Time Hill off as a 9-year-old novice chaser. It's very different to appreciate it. If anybody's
completely
want to
different.
comment,
Yeah. Time Hill's been running.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very different. But I'm not gone on Time Hill either. But even just actually looking at him versus the real whacker, which I actually can't get my head around. Again, Time Hill is 156 over fences too. I know the real whacker is very unexposed. Also, unexposed, inexperienced is another word for it. But I think the value was down below him. Again, I'd nearly skip over Jerry Colombe because he's ground dependent. So I think, like, if he's going to win the race, you won't know until the week of the race or the day of the race even. And if it comes up soft or heavy, then there's your horse. But aside from that, at this stage, he's no proposition. I don't think. Ballygriffin Cottage, then another one who's going to need to improve, probably about a stone to win it, won't be winning it. But the value, the 2 horses, first of all, James de Burley, I think he's your most likely winner. and he's great value because he's priced up for going to the JLT or the Marsh. Whereas I'm very confident he's going to go here. So, and if the market was to assume that he was going here, he'd probably be 7 or 8 to 1. So you have 4 or 5 points ahead of the market there as it is. I really think he'll go here. He'll probably win at DRF. Gentleman's Game is the other one who I think they're the two value ones. He'll probably beat Gentleman's Game at DRF, and then who knows after that. But they'd be the two I'd be looking at. And James de Burley, Willie's I think he's on course for his best season ever. I think if he goes here, and I'm confident he'd go here. Actually, interesting. Oh no, he's actually only 10 to 1 Will Hill, non-runner, no bet. So, no, I'm mistaken. I knew when I said interesting. He's 6 to 1 Will Hill, non-runner, no bet. So there's your guide, and I do think he'll go here. So look, we'll see. I'm going to say James de Burley. You're going
And I
Gentleman's
say
Game.
Gentleman's Game. I wouldn't go away from the mouse.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's Mouse will have him ready, that's for sure.
Correct.
Okay, so that brings us on to our final novice chase. So, the final one we'll preview. It'll be the second one, obviously, the last race on the Tuesday. Jesus, it's actually exciting thinking about it, isn't it? The last race on the Tuesday, God, you love it. But the National Hunt Chase, Gaillard de Menil there, favourite. I think he'd be the classiest horse ever to go to this race, I'd imagine, off the top of my head. I can't think of a horse who'd be rated as high as him that went to this race. You might think of one there in the spot, but I don't think so. So I don't think he'll go. And if he does go, I'd still probably fancy Chemical Energy to go and beat him. I put Chemical Energy up here at 8 to 1 a couple of weeks ago. He's into 9 to 2 now, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
Yeah. Funnily, he said he'd be the classiest horse. Run Wild Fred at a higher rating last year. But
did he? Okay.
Yeah, I do think Gaillard de Menil is a better horse than Run Wild Fred, though.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, you put up Chemical Injury at 8. He's about a 4 to 1 sort of general shot now there. Like, Jesus, it was a nice pick now, in fairness. I agree with you. I don't think Gaillard de Menil will run here. I think Ramirez is entered there in the grade 3 on Saturday. I think it's in terms of like this is a grade 2. Willie wants to win the grade 1s. He'll throw another dart to the RSA. He might have James de Burley, as you said, and he'll have Gaillard de Menil, and then Ramirez will be here, and Patrick will ride him. That's the way he'll split them. Obviously Jerry Clome is there in the betting too. Yeah, he'd be an interesting one if he did go up to the 3 mile 6 trip, but at the moment he's not qualified, so like you can't back him at the moment until you see he's entered over 3 miles and declared over 3 miles even, just make sure he qualifies. I know Gordon mentioned the 10 up at Navan as a potential race for him before Cheltenham, and like the 10 up it'd make him qualify for this race if he was to finish. So yeah, I think like looking at their Chemical Energy is the sort of obvious pick at the moment, and Jamie Codd did say he'd love to ride him in the race too.
Yeah. So again, it's actually a race that I probably need to look at a bit more, because when you go down the betting in it, there's often something there who's a hardy old fecker who could run into a place or at least run a race for you. It's something that I really enjoy doing actually for this race. So maybe if I get half an hour or an hour there over the next week, I might have a look at that. Just having a quick scan through it there, Manila Kroner. Although he's going to be Irish national bound, so you can forget that. But yeah, look, I'm perfectly happy with Chemical Energy, and you're probably thinking the same way, or maybe Jerry Cologne, depending.
Yeah, if Jerry Cologne ran here, I think he'd be the one I'd be backing. Even if Gaillard de Menil was there, I think he's a better horse than Chemical Energy. I think he's won a grade 1 over 2 and half miles in Limerick. Like, yeah, he's not a 2.5 mile. I know it was heavy ground, but still. Yeah, I think, I don't know, would he have a grade 1 penalty here in the grade 2? I presume he would. I don't know what weight he'd have to give away. So Malor Mission won there. They qualified last week in Navan. So he won over 3 miles. It was actually a funny one. I saw it on Twitter today. Someone said it. Chavez for Willie Mullins. He's a 25-1 shot here. He's a funny one. He entered him in this race. And he actually won over 2 miles today in the beginner's chase.
Okay.
So obviously he's not qualified. Like, he won by 25 lengths.
Yeah,
so yeah, I thought it was quite funny, like, there, that he was entered in this, and he wouldn't bother entering hot on colors in the Ryanair. So
Okay, yeah.
that was a funny one from Willie. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I don't think there's any penalty for winning a graded race for this race. I don't
Okay.
think so. I was talking to one of the lads a while ago, and he was complaining over the fact that there was penalties in the mayor's races, in
Yeah.
the grade 2 mayor's races, but there wasn't a penalty in this. And the disparity between both. Why was it? So, look,
Okay.
that's I don't know whether it's true or not, but one to check.